And so here we come to the Avodah service, which is the most dramatic and for most of us the most difficult part of the Yom Kippur liturgy, of Yom Kippur Musaf. Musaf takes us through all of the different historical and liturgical observances of Yom Kippur, different ways of relating to the singular moment of Yom Kippur in our year. In this section, we are enacting the most ancient. We are reenacting the temple service. We encounter the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, as an ordinary person with a family, a member of the community, but with an awesome responsibility. We will follow the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, through 3 stages of atonement. Atonement for himself and his family, for the Jewish people and the larger community, and for the world. It can be very difficult to relate to the strangeness of the temple ritual, evoking the sacrifices, practices that some of us are not so sad, are not part of our daily practice anymore. But try to enter with us into the theater of this moment. Cantor Rosen and Rabbi Kleinbaum and I will tell the story. Cantor Rosen will play the part of the Kohen, the high priest, going into the Holy of Holies on this one day of the year and uttering the name of God. And we will play the part of the Kahal, the community, waiting outside just beyond the curtain, listening and answering. And as the words describe the people listening to the words of the priest as he uttered the unknowable name of God and falling to his knees and falling to their faces, we too will fall to our knees and lie down before God. And we invite you to join us as we reenact the scene. So make some room and stand and bow with us as we play out together this amazing piece of liturgical theater. This year, inspired by Congregation B'nai Jeshurun, we're going to use a new musical setting for the Avodah service based on a composition by Israeli musician Yishai Ribo. And you don't need a machzor for this. We're going to carry you through this and tell the story. So I know it's hard for some of us to let go of the book. If you absolutely feel the need to follow on page 857, you can, but you really don't need it for this part. We'll take care of it. For 7 days before Yom Kippur, the high priest would be set apart from his household. He would leave his family and his home and go to stay in the temple chambers. He needed that time to prepare himself spiritually and physically so that nothing would distract him or lead him to do anything that would make him unfit to perform the ritual of atonement. The Zkenim, the elders from the Beit Din, from the court, would come in every day to teach him and be with him and prepare him for the ritual. On the day before Yom Kippur, they showed him all of the animals for sacrifice so that he would learn to recognize each one and tell them apart from one another and become familiar with every detail of the service. And before the teachers left, they stopped and they said to the high priest, "Please, you are our shaliach, our messenger. We need you to do this well. All of us are depending on you. Please. We beg you in the name of God not to change one thing from all we have taught you." And he would weep, and they would weep. And this high priest, whoever he was, would do whatever he could to prepare. Sometimes the Kohen happened to be a great scholar, and if so, he would study. Some years it wasn't a great scholar, and then other scholars would study in his presence. Then he would go to prepare his body. He would immerse 5 times in the ritual bath and sanctify himself 10 times. He would put on the special white garments that he wore only on that day, and he hoped he was ready. After all the intense preparation, he went and stood before God. "Here I am," he would say, "like so many before me." And before he could atone on behalf of anyone else, he had to begin with himself.
נכנס למקום שנכנס ועמד במקום שעמד, רחץ ידיו רגליו, טבל עליו ונסתפק, בא ממקום שהוא בא והלך למקום שהלך, פשט בגדי החול, לבש בגדי לבן, וכך היה אומר, אנא השם, כפר לחטאים, לעוונות ולפשעים, שחטאתי לפניך אני וביתי. ואם אדם היה יכול לספור את הפגמים, את החסרונות, את כל הפשעים, את כל העוונות.
And the temple was thick with smoke from the incense and the offerings. The assembled people were terrified, and the high priest would move between the Holy of Holies and the outer chamber, surrounded by fire and smoke and blood from the offerings. And he would stand there with a bowl of blood, and he would count, and we count.
בטח כך היה מונה אחת, אחת ואחת, אחת ושתיים, אחת ושלוש, אחת וארבע, אחת וחמש. ישר היה מתייאש, כי לא יכול היה לשאת את המהירות, החטא, את הבושה, את הפספוס, את ההפסד.
And he felt on the edge of despair, trying to carry all of the bitterness and the wrongs and the shame and the waste and the loss. Please stand. Please join us as we act the part of the Kohanim and the people bowing and falling on their faces.
והכהנים והעם העומדים בעזרה, כשהיו שומעים את שם השם המפורש יוצא מפי, כהן גדול היו קוראים, משתחווים ונופלים על פניהם. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. Uttering God's name was completely overwhelming. It was exhausting and exhilarating to articulate something too big, too intense to say every day.
Having taken responsibility for himself, the high priest was now ready to begin his atonement on behalf of us, his people. The high priest would stand at the east of the court where 2 goats had been placed before him. He tied a crimson thread around the head of one goat, marking it Lazazel, and sent that goat away. The second goat was declared for God, and he placed that one on the altar. He took off his white clothes and put on his golden clothes, and he would stand up to make his confession, not only on his behalf and that of his household, but for all the priestly clan and all of the people. Just as we must take responsibility for our own wrongs so that we can begin to repair our communities.
פסע למקום שפסע, פניו לקודש אחוריו להיכל. ולא רבב היו שווים פיו ומעשיו, בא ממקום שהוא בא, והלך למקום שהלך. פשט בידי לבן, לבש בידי זהב, וכך היה אומר, אנא השם, כפר לחטאים, לעוונות ולפשעים, שחטאתי לפניך אני וביתי. ואם אדם היה יכול לזכות את החסדים, את הטובות, את כל הרחמים, את כל הישועות.
And he would count, and we count with him.
בטח כך היה מונה אחת, אחת ואחת, אחת ושתיים, אחת מאלף אלפי אלפים, ורוב ריבי רבבות, ניסים נפלאות שעשית עמנו, ימים ולילות.
Please stand as we prepare to bow again.
והכהנים והעם העומדים בעזרה, כשהיו שומעים את שם השם המפורש יוצא מפי, כהן גדול היו קוראים, משתחווים ונופלים על פניהם. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Only now was the high priest ready for the final step, the final act of atonement for all of us, for the whole nation and beyond.
והכהנים והעם העומדים בעזרה, כשהיו שומעים את שם השם המפורש יוצא מפי, כהן גדול היו קוראים, משתחווים ונופלים על פניהם. שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
It was done. He had survived it. And as he left the sanctuary in peace, the high priest would pray these words: "May it be your will, our God and God of our ancestors, that no exile should come upon us, neither on this day nor in this year. And if exile is to come upon us in this day or in this year, may we be exiled to a place of Torah. May it be your will that no sorrow should come upon us, neither on this day nor in this year. And if sorrow is to come upon us in this day or in this year, may we be strengthened by your presence and the presence of community. May it be your will that this be a year of plenty, a year of commerce, a year of rain and warm weather and dew, a year of action and of change. I pray for your people Israel that they will rise up to help one another. And I pray for your people Israel that they not rise up to rule over one another. He would make this blessing and immerse himself. He would put away the golden clothes and put on his own clothes. The other priests stayed with him until he got home, where his loved ones celebrated him, for he had emerged from that holy place.
יצא ממקום שיצא ורעד ממקום שעמד, פשט בגדי זהב, לבש בגדי עצמו, וכל העם והכהנים היו מלווים אותו לביתו, ויום טוב לאוהביו, כן יסלח לכל עדת ישראל, אשרי העם